First thing, I'd like to thank Gary, my friend Gary, for these cabinets and several PCBs. Uh, really appreciate it. Awesome friend, and he is needing to clear out his arcade, moving out of state, and I am the recipient of 2 Double Dragon cabinets here, plus some extra control panels and circuit boards, which is just really awesome, and he delivered them as well, which is just above and beyond. So big thanks to Gary for these cabinets. Now, I already told Gary that I don't think I can fit both in my game room. I really only have room for one. So the other one is probably going to be fixed up and sold, and I'm going to split the profits with him. I get a lot of enjoyment, most enjoyment actually, of fixing up games a lot of times, more than even playing them, or at least as much as playing them. So he's cool with that, and I really appreciate it. So big thanks to Gary. So now, I guess I'll call this video series Operation Double Dragon, because I've got 2 Double Dragon cabinets in here now. So you can see the artwork on the sides. There's 2 different versions, so that's cool. You can also see that the monitor in one is vertical and the monitor in the other is horizontal, which is also cool. So I'd really like to keep both of these, but I just don't have the space. Small arcade, and had to move a desk in due to working from home, my wife. So that got rid of some space for games, which is perfectly fine. She needs that space more than I need games. So I can put one of these in the house for sure. They can both go in the house, but I don't know that I can have both of them in a orientation that you could play them without like climbing over one to get to the other or something like that. So the goal here is to get these both up and running, making my final decision along the way of which one I'm going to keep, although the more I've looked at them tonight, the more I think it's going to be the one on the right, with the less common artwork colors on the side. So I'll go into some details about Double Dragon cabinets. You can find all this online, which is obviously how I did it. Little bits from posts all over the place. A lot from KLOV, Clov. Posts here and there about cabinets, about the monitor that's in the one on the left, and some other sites and videos. Scattered information. So what we've got is a Double Dragon cabinet, and one of the cool things about Double Dragon cabinets, and why I wanted one when I only have room for one more game, is because you can rotate the monitor from the front of the cabinet. You take the glass off, you take that cardboard bezel behind it out, and then the monitor is mounted to a wooden board. The wooden board's held in with 2 basically long thumb screws at the top. You take those out, and then you put your hand in the handholds of the piece of wood that the monitor's mounted to, pull it towards you, rotate it the direction you want, and put it back in. So that can be done from the front. The second is the fact that the game board sits in a drawer. The drawer could be opened from the front. So again, you don't have to access the back of these cabinets. So they're super easy. If you have JAMMA boards, it's kind of an ideal cabinet, because you can just pull the drawer open, swap your game boards. They're wired for JAMMA standard. They've got the standard original control panel, 2 joysticks, 3 buttons each, and 2 start buttons. And you can rotate the monitor for what type of JAMMA PCB you're playing, if it's a vertical one or a horizontal one. So that's why I wanted one of these cabinets. I sold my 25-inch cabinet that I had some videos on because although I got it up and running and it looked great, it was just taking up so much room, that 25-inch cabinet, that when I found out that I had a chance to get these, I decided, you know, if I can replace that 25-inch cabinet with just one of these, saving space, making it easier to rotate the monitor, because the monitor, the 25-inch in the war cabinet, just weighed a ton and was really awkward to change, whereas obviously the 19-inch monitor in these is a lot lighter and it's easier to change by far. So it's just an all-around better cabinet, I think. So some features of Double Dragon, and this is just mostly from, like I said, various sources. I'm not an expert, but you've got the two different art styles. The more common is this one here with the white, gray, red, and black, and the less common is the white, red, yellow. It kind of looks on my camera like the bottom stripe there is maybe orange, but I think that's the same red as the center stripe, and it might just be a little bit faded. I don't think that's a different color. I'm in my garage at night, so it's got some fluorescence behind these cabinets and a LED work light shining on the front, so the colors might be, and the lighting might be a bit odd, but I'm doing this the night that I got these cabs. So yeah, extremely nice cabinets to be able to swap JAMMA games, because they have JAMMA standard 3-button controls with joysticks. And these control panels are also just pretty much, you know, flat piece of wood. There's an angle back here where it holds up against the glass to hold the glass in, and then they staple a thin piece of wood here so that it prevents the control panel from sliding down, because there's a piece of wood underneath here that butts up against this part of the cabinet on the inside there. So, and I'll show you a control panel in a minute that's off the machine, because I got extra control panels too. So real simple control panels. So I've got an Arkanoid board that I've only kind of play tested with a 3D printed box that I put the spinner in on my old 25-inch cabinet, and just kind of put it in the middle of the cabinet and, you know, spinner and buttons, and made sure it worked. So I'm going to be making a cabinet or control panel for this that has a spinner, and I think what I'm currently I am actually working on is the panel that was on my 25-inch cabinet. So it will have a Japanese joystick, 3 buttons over 3 buttons, and then a spinner. And I'm kind of working on that control panel now, although I'm not sure that that's what I'm going to go with. I might just end up scrapping it all together, just sticking with the original controls, and just making another panel with maybe just a spinner in the middle and 2 buttons just for Arkanoid. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. So yeah, so these cabinets have in the back a switching power supply. Pretty sure that's not the original one, that's been replaced at some point. Isolation transformer for the monitor, a couple fuses, service outlet that you can plug a soldering iron into if you needed. There's a line filter back there, and then it's kind of cool because those wires all go out to a terminal strip here, which is labeled with all of the, you know, joystick up, down, left, right, and your voltages for your power wires, and your speaker outputs and video and everything. It's all labeled. So the wires from the cabinet go to this side of this terminal strip, and then the wires that go to the JAMMA harness screw into the other side, and then there's a separate terminal block with the same thing going on for the power wires over here. So that's pretty cool that everything's kind of labeled, and if something goes wrong, you can pretty much track down the wire fairly easily right here if you wanted to like test continuity from here to the control panel, take the control panel off and have it here and put one into your multimeter on the button and the other right here. And if the tone doesn't go through, you've probably got a problem with the wire somewhere in between, right? So that's really handy. So that's a nice feature. Plus, it's really easy to change games without going into the back. You don't have to go to the back. And don't have to go to the back to swap the monitor. So really cool cabinets for that purpose. I'll walk around to the back. Okay, the back of these cabinets, also interesting, they do not have locks in the back. They are screwed shut in the back. Now, I'm guessing they did that because they didn't think anyone was going to need to get into the back, which is pretty much the way they made them. That's pretty true. You really have to have a pretty serious problem to have to open up the back to get to the, maybe if you wanted to remove the monitor, but even that, I can't show you now because the glass is on the front of the cabinets, but when you take the glass off the cabinets, not only can you take that piece of wood that the monitor is mounted to and rotate it, vertical or horizontal, you can also lay it so that that tube is facing perpendicular to the ground. And so you've got access to the chassis where you can probably unplug the wires right there and then pull the monitor out from the front. So you can do most of the work you're going to need to do on these cabs through the front. And so I think that might be why they didn't put a lock in the back. They just have the backs screwed on. Hopefully there's enough light in here since my light's pretty much just overhead and in the front. But this one here has a G07 in it. So Electro-Home G07, millions of them made, and every part you pretty much need to rebuild one of these is available. So that's a really nice monitor to have in here. It also only has a little bit of Defender burn on it, hardly any at all. So it's a really nice looking tube, and it's a nice monitor to have. There's an interlock for the back door. There's also an interlock down there that you're not going to be able to see for the drawer. So when you open the drawer, the interlock is releases and cuts the power to the game. So if you're going to swap a board, theoretically, you don't have to turn the cabinet off. You can just open the drawer, it cuts the power, then swap the board, slide the board or the drawer back in, and the cabinet powers back up. So at first I thought I might just disable that interlock, lift it up out of the way. But the more I think about it, the more it's, as long as you know it's there. So if you're testing a game or whatever and you want to see if it turns on and it doesn't, you know that you just have to reach in and pull the interlock switch out and it'll power up. Then I don't really see the need to move that switch anywhere. The reason you can't see it is you'll see there's that piece of wood, fiberboard, whatever, in the bottom of the cab. That's not actually the bottom of the cab. So they put that shelf in there. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe to keep extra quarters that might fall into the game from landing on the PCB. That's probably what it's for, but you could see it's just all warped and messed up. It does catch a lot of dirt though, so it is a good thing to have, but I think I'm going to be replacing that maybe with a thicker board so I can maybe put PCBs on it or a Sega Naomi system on top of it. Not quite sure yet, but it definitely needs at least a very good cleaning and to be replaced with something. If we go over to, blind you there, go over to the other one. This one has a little interesting story to tell because this one's got a monitor that has two wires going to the anode cup. I got this information off Claw from a thread by Ken Layton, who has recently passed away. He lived up here in the Pacific Northwest. I actually met him a couple times. Super nice guy and real asset to the community. It's a sad loss that he has passed away. So I wanted to mention that in case anybody didn't hear that news. It was posted on the popular forums not long ago. So that's a real sad deal. But there's a lot of threads out there that are going to be helping people for a long time that he's created. So that's good that he's going to live on in that way. So the information from him about this monitor is that what he found out, to the best of his knowledge, is that Wells Gardner could not keep up with the production of monitors. There was such a demand. So they contracted out to Zenith to make monitors. So Zenith made a K7000 monitor, but they chose to make modifications to the PCB so it would work with their flyback. And can't really see it in there, but their flyback transformer obviously is different than a standard flyback transformer, because the standard one only has one wire going to the anode cup. Theirs has two. So it's the flyback, and it's got I think it's like a big capacitor, that gray thing in the center of the picture. So Zenith made alterations to the chassis design that Wells Gardner had. And so basically, if you own one of these monitors and the flyback goes out, you're kind of up a creek. Your choices are to hope somebody who bought some of the last new old stock flybacks is selling one, and if they do, you can probably expect to pay over $100 for it. Or you can find another chassis with that same flyback and take it off a used flyback and put it onto this monitor. Or you ditch the chassis completely and just buy a standard Wells Gardner K7000 chassis, which supposedly will work with these tubes. And the reason being that the flyback has a completely different pinout, the Zenith flyback, so you can't adapt it to work in the Zenith transformer the Zenith flyback will not work in a K7000 from Wells Gardner manufacturer, and the Wells Gardner flyback will not work in the Zenith monitor chassis. So this monitor is currently not working. I don't know why. I haven't done any troubleshooting yet, just got these home. I just know that last time I was at Gary's hanging out with him and we were doing some stuff, this cabinet was playing blind. So you could hear the games playing, you couldn't see anything. So I'm hoping it's just maybe cold solder joints and not the flyback. But it might be the flyback, so I'll have to see. It might even be mice eating wires somewhere. It's just completely unknown, untested, other than the fact that we ran a game and could hear it but couldn't see it. So that's the issue with this game. One of the issues with this game. They both have their issues. The other one, I'm not even sure what it does. It was supposedly not working, but I don't know how not working. I don't know if it plays blind. I don't know if it doesn't do anything. Just completely untested. So I've got some work cut out for me here, testing monitors and testing cabinets and power and all that stuff to see where I stand on these two cabinets. And obviously cleaning them up. This one you can see also has that same, or not the same, but a similar piece down there that sits covering up the PCB drawer so dust and stuff doesn't fall on it. This one looks like it's maybe two pieces. Not as much dust and dirt, but maybe that's just because this one is a darker color. I don't know, but yeah, that's going on. Also, this one does not have wheels. The other one does have two back wheels. This is supposed to have them. You can see there's the openings for them, but the wheels aren't there. This is the remote board for the monitor, which I do have, although I didn't take a picture of the orientation of this connector, and it actually physically can connect both ways. I think this way is up because somebody's put a black Sharpie line on it, which would kind of make sense if this faces up, that would be the part with the line on it, but that shouldn't be hard to look up photos or schematics to figure out for sure which way it goes, because it's not keyed, so it can physically plug in either way. So is that it? Is that the basics? I guess that's the basics of the cab as it stands right now, both of these cabinets. Like I said, just got them home tonight and ate some dinner, and then came out here and took the backs off, and figured I'd start this video series showing what I could about the cabs and some of the information about the monitor. Like I said, the monitor and how these cabs work. The other thing I will show is control panels. These are a couple spare control panels, and this one has original controls on it. And if you notice, they are rather odd looking buttons. So originally the Double Dragon games had these buttons, which I believe are a leaf switch button, but the leaf switch is contained inside this white portion, and it's a single piece button. There's the screw that goes on, and if you take this screw that holds it on the board, the control panel, if you take that off, the nut off, that button is just, it's all one piece. So when you push it, you can see that black plunger come out through the middle there. So very interesting design, and from what I've read, very unreliable, and they tended to break, and people would replace them with standard buttons, either micro switch like this or maybe standard leaf buttons, wherever the operator decided. So this one's got, obviously all the buttons have been changed to micro switch type, and the joysticks in this one have also been changed to micro switch type, whereas these were originally leaf switch. So this one is pretty cool, like I said, because it looks all original. I don't know if the buttons work again. They might not work, but at least they're all there and they're all original. That's cool. This block of wood that's stapled, and I'm assuming probably glued to, but maybe just stapled, this is the one that keeps the control panel from sliding off, because the panel on the cabinet sits right here, and then there's latches that hold it down, and then because the cabinet edge is here, this raised block will keep the control panel from sliding down. And then the far side here has an angle to it, and that's the angle piece holds the glass in place. So that's pretty cool. Original control panel there, and information on how those are put together and work. One last thing now that I think about it, if I can see with the crap lighting here, the original connectors on these games were not Molex connectors. They're a specific design I had never seen before. This one has been converted to Molex. The other one, which of course is even darker, the other one, I'm not going to be able to show that without more light probably. They use this weird connector style. It's 2 rows of pins, and then there's a gap in the middle that's kind of the key, so you know which way it plugs in, so the connectors only plug into each other one way. You don't flip them around accidentally, but it's just, I'd never seen that design before. That's really weird, and evidently that's the original design that these came with. But obviously a lot of times they get converted to this. So this is just your standard Molex arcade style connector that's used in most games, US games, to connect things like control panels. And since that's what, you know, most people had in their toolkits, it's a lot easier to just clip the wires off from those other connectors, crimp new connectors on and new housings, and just go with that. So you can swap out your control panels or whatever with standard, easily available connectors instead of ones that you might have to special order. So that's an interesting factoid there. So again, that's, I think I'll cut that off for this video. Again, Project Double Dragon. I've also got quite a few PCBs that I got with the cabinets, and so I'm not sure, I haven't gone through them to see what they all are, and obviously no idea if they work, some of them, all of them. But yeah, a lot of work ahead of me in cleanup and chasing down some issues to get these up and going. Hopefully it won't take too long. It's really cold in the garage, and it's only gonna get colder as it gets closer to December here. It's mid-November right now, so I like to get them in the house to the point where I can just work on them in a warm environment. But there you go, Double Dragon with a few interesting facts that might not be known to everybody. And look for future videos where I get things up and running and cleaned up and make my final decision of which one I'm going to keep, although I'm pretty darn sure it's the one on the right.